Now that I have made the switch from being a liberal Democrat to a conservative Republican for the past 2 years, I have noticed some things that I think that we as a party need to put to the forefront and change so that we can win in 2020 and also win over more Democrats that I think are going to get sick of how extreme that party has become. And I think that if we make some of these changes, it's just a winning formula. Like, there's no way that we, as a party, won't get more people to join us and really just continue to sustain this great country that we have, because we have to win in 2020. We just have to. We cannot let the power get back into the hands of the Democrats, because they have become too extreme. Where they want to go is not a place that I want to see this country end up in, and it's just not a good idea. And we just have to do whatever it takes to win, but without compromising the core values of our country and our Constitution and our Christian values and morals. And so I've been thinking about 5 things that I think that the Republican Party needs to work on so that we can win in 2020. These are just my own opinions, but it's just, like I said, coming from the perspective of someone who's a former liberal Democrat and now a conservative Republican. I just think that as an outsider for so long and now coming into the party, I had such a misconception of what being a Republican was when I was a liberal Democrat. And I think that if we work on these things, then we can help change the mind of a lot of people who may be just confused on what it is to even be a Republican and be fighting for freedom. So, number one, and this is something that, for me personally, is very important. When I was a liberal Democrat, I truly thought that the Republican Party was a racist white party. I really did. I thought that when I met someone and they said that they were Republican and they were white, I mean, I'm in California, so I rarely met a non white Republican, because like Democrats have deceived Mexicans and blacks into only voting Democrat. So when I would meet a Republican, I would immediately think, oh, this person's a racist. They don't care about black and brown people, which is totally not true. And especially now that I've joined, it's a very small group, and I personally think there's actually more racism in the Democrat Party, but that's a whole other video. So I think in order to address this, I think we need to put more black and brown and young faces in the forefront so that we can show that we are inclusive, that we do have a lot of black and brown people who are part of the party and who are active, and uh, who are really trying to get the message out there. And when I go onto the California's Republican website, I mean, I hate to say this, but it's all older white males there, and that will only further my opinions, or the people's opinions of them thinking that it's just a party for old white males when it's not. So, like I said, I think we need to have more black and brown faces in the forefront. So that's number one. Number two, I think we need to continue to take the higher road. I truly think that we are taking the higher road. Like, the liberals keep attacking and having really, really awful things that they're saying to all of us. I've had horrible things said to me, and we just have to be very careful about what we say back or what we say about them. For one, I noticed that, there's a lot of Republicans like to make fun of liberals and call them libtards or soy boys and stuff like that. And really, as a vegetarian myself, I want to feel like there's a place for me. I don't want to be like, if I go to like a Republican convention or something and I say I'm a vegetarian, I don't want to be attacked for that. Like, I do it for health reasons and also for animal rights. But I just think that, we need to be more accepting of people who maybe don't want to eat meat. And I think that's kind of alienating to make fun of their dietary habits. It's just not a good thing to attack people on, okay? And like, I just think that if we stop doing that as a party, and the people that are Republicans stop making fun of vegetarians, that you could actually tap into a whole nother group of people are that may be willing to come over to our side. Okay. The other one is, Oh yeah. So this kind of goes with taking the higher road as well. You know, I am absolutely 100% support the Second Amendment. I truly believe that we should have the right to bear arms and to protect our family if needed. But there are some people, including myself, who I will never be a gun owner. Like, I mean, um, for personal reasons, my family, we've struggled with suicide in my family, and I've had family members who've committed suicide. I've also had family members that have been shot and murdered. So for me, having gun in my household is just not something that I would ever do. But I 100% support those that want to be gun owners, and we have that right to bear arms, especially in this day and age when if we do get a Democrat socialist or whatever they call themselves in power, and we are not able to protect ourselves from our own government, that's just very scary to me. And I think that we should be able to have, and maybe during that time I might end up getting a gun. But for now, like, I think we need to make sure that, if you have people becoming Republican who may not be as into the gun thing, just accept them, be okay with that. Like, they have that right, and you have that right to own a gun, and they have that right to not own a gun. Okay, so that's number two. Number three, I think that there's a lot of things in. I hate the word things. It's just such an easy word to use. But anyways, there's a lot of what's a better word for things? Anyways, I'm gonna go past that. But number three is I think we need to soften our views on LGBTQ. Personally, if someone wants to do what they want to do, get married with who they want to get married to, marry a cat, marry a same-sex person, they can do that, and I think that that's something that has really been a real target for the Republican Party. Like, we're seen as bigots, and we don't want to let people love who they want to love, and it's like I just think that needs to be something we need to soften our views on, except for when it comes to teaching kids sexuality in our schools. I think that does not belong in our schools, and we need to keep fighting for that. That is not a place. Kids should be learning reading, writing, arithmetic, art, music in schools, but not be learning how to explore their sexuality in the schools. And I think that's completely inappropriate. And I do think that we as Republicans should continue to fight to keep the LGBTQ agenda out of our schools, because it's just not the place. I don't want the school to be the place where our kids learn about their sexuality. That should be something that's in their home or on their own. Kids have YouTube now. We don't really need to have the schools teach kids on what they need to learn about in their sexuality, or even for heterosexual matters. I just think that it just doesn't belong in our schools, and that's something that we should continue to fight for. But in terms of like LGBTQ and their whole equal rights and all of that, I just think that personally that issue we should just soften our views on, because like I said, it's been such a target for us to be labeled as bigots and biased and all of that. And really, we are a country of freedom, and if they want to be free to do, what they want to do in their own private lives, then we should just let them do that and pray for them, But yeah, I think there's other things we should be fighting more strongly for. So, number four is I think we should get a stronger media presence, social media presence. I'm really stoked about the fact that we are getting some alternatives to YouTube and alternatives to Twitter, and I think that we should continue to have a stronger social media presence and get more people out in the forefront who are, you know, excited about being Republican and maybe don't follow the Republican white male stereotype, and get them more active and stuff like that, so that we can recruit more young people. Because I truly think that young people right now are open to being a little more, they're open to other ideas, especially if they're presented in a logical way. Okay, and then lastly, I do think that we as Republicans should be a little more forefront in our views on the environment and animal rights. I think that we should, I think it kind of makes the Republican Party seem a little bit cold and cruel that we don't really care about the environment or whatever, when we actually do. But I just think we need to be more forefront on our views on that, and also and our views on animal rights and get a little more soft on that, I guess. But this was just a practice video. Okay, bye.